With us tonight, Republican strategist Puneet, Ahluwalia, and Dominic Thompson, Executive Director of the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. Gentlemen, thanks for being here with us all night long. It's been a party, guys.
Such a fun night.
It has been a fun night indeed.
Fun for you, Dominic.
Well, fun for you. No offense.
Right. Well, we'll start with Dominic since he's on a roll tonight, right? And you're still recovering over here a little bit. Are you surprised by how everything shook out tonight?
Yeah, I will say I am surprised about the margin for the Attorney General race. You know, polling had it.
Really
Miara's
close.
ahead.
Yeah.
Had Miara's ahead. And so we all thought on the Democratic side that Jay, two similar names, we all thought that Jay would be able to pull it out, but it would be very close and it'd be nail biter all night. Very shocking that it was pretty decisive enough, considering everything that went on during the campaign. But, now it's time for unity. That's what all the candidates have been calling for, and it's time to figure out how we move forward from a Republican administration to a Democratic administration here in Virginia.
Mr. Jones said nothing about the text messaging scandal. That makes sense to you?
That makes a lot of sense to me. Listening to the speeches tonight, it's a lot about unity, right? And how do we move forward? This was a bruising fight for the Attorney General's race. The governor's race wasn't always very nice either. And, there were plenty of scandals with the lieutenant governor on the Republican side. And so the campaign is over. We have to look forward on how we govern Virginia as a Democratic Party. And so, it's time to move on past the text messages and show how you're going to be an Attorney General for all Virginians.
Does the actions by the White House and the administration have an impact on the ability to message properly on the ground? In other words, we think about tariffs, we think about federal layoffs, we think about an uptick in inflation, right? When you're having those conversations about the economy with voters, say in the Commonwealth, that's tough to do when they know that maybe sort of the root of some of their pain comes from just up the road.
Yep. And that's the reason why especially Virginia pays a huge price depending on who's in the White House, which I've said earlier. So hence the reason I think the tariffs, the immigration issue, the shutdown, the furloughed federal workers, I think it all impacted. But what it is again, nothing against you, Dominic, but the Democratic Party talks the game, but when it comes to it, they all vote against the pocketbook of hardworking Americans. And that's the reason you will see that small family-owned businesses are going to be really impacted. And yes, there was the concern for what the policies, the federal policies are coming down from Washington, but I think we'll see the Virginia in 4 years swing back, as Jason Miyares said. The pendulum will swing. And yes, Jason Miyares would have been a great balancer of good governance for the state of Virginia. But unfortunately, people had a different choice.
Well, let's talk about the economic issues, right? I
Yes.
mean, when we think about sort of the economic impacts, a lot of those are coming from the White House. Tariffs is having a big impact on small businesses and their ability to keep costs down. We think about sort of the issues that are happening with rural hospitals, several of which have closed along the 81 corridor. That affects much of the state as well, especially those rural communities that depend on those local hospitals. When you think about, the laying off of federal workers, Northern Virginia, Fairfax County, Loudoun, Prince William County being adversely affected, seeing unemployment tick up. Those aren't things that are happening at a state level. Those are things that are happening at a federal level that are having an impact on state voters.
Larry, at some point or the other, we have to find a way to balance our $38 billion, $1 trillion debt that we have. We need to put control on that. At the same time, we have to...
And so laying people off is a way to do that?
We got to find a way to cut the waste. And
but that your federal workers' salaries only accounts for 6% of the federal budget.
Still, we got to find a way where we have to look. Clinton fired a lot of federal workers when he came in the first term.
But you also know that was done over a series of months through a study that was initiated, that the thing that was approved on, and that it was done in an orderly process.
Well, again, President Trump has his own way of doing things. So what it is that at some way or the other, we have to cut down the fat. At the same time, we have to find a way to make it more economical. And President Trump also said there'll be a lot of pain before it eases out. You will see the tariffs translate. Hopefully the interest rate goes down, which is going to spur the economy. And I can see the real estate economy starting to move up in the next coming year, 2026. And we will see a growth, the impact, a positive impact of the tariffs and the lowering of interest rate to really spur the economy. And I'm very hopeful in 2026 that we'll retain the majority.
But is that a winning message, though? Saying
it's-
that it's going to get better, it's going to get better, just wait, it's going to get better. That doesn't seem like a winning message at all.
Well, but again, the idea is that what choice we have: keep adding the debt on Americans, our future generation, or we keep having the other nations take advantage of us. What good work he's doing around the world is peace. And that's also a very big, huge national security issue. And bringing manufacturing back in the United States, becoming energy independent. And that's another aspect of what he's trying to do. And as we've seen, I think he has 4 years, and now it's almost going to be down to 3 years. President Trump is trying to do as much as possible before 2026, so he's able to achieve a positive economy and nation for American people. That's what the mandate he got when he got elected.
Okay. Dominic, to that you say what?
To that I say, I mean, if President Trump cared about, addressing the deficit issues or cared about the pocketbook issues, his presidency would be radically different right now. You look at how Virginians see the Trump administration right now. I mean, he has given the first $1 trillion budget to the Defense Department, or the Department of War now, as we're supposed to call it, because that was one of his actions that he spent time on rather than bringing down costs. You see what's happening with healthcare premiums and how they're about to skyrocket through the roof, which is why we have a shutdown currently, because Republicans are being very irresponsible with people's healthcare because they don't have their own healthcare plan outside of the Affordable Care Act. You see all of these economic issues that they are voting very poorly on right now. But then you look at what Trump is spending his time on, and what they're spending time on is these ICE raids, which, regardless of how you feel on immigration, you look at these ICE raids and they're kind of horrifying, right? And I think that a lot of communities have been finding them horrifying. You look at what he's doing right now. He's going after his political opponents, Letitia James in New York. Let me finish real quick. You look at the Trump administration right now. Trump is not at all focused on making Virginia's, working families in Virginia, he's not focused at all on making their lives more affordable. Every action he's doing is raising prices. And when he isn't focused on raising prices, he's focused on these culture war issues that just lost on the ballot. And, he won on economics. He didn't win on the culture war stuff.
Well, the weaponization of the judiciary was done by Obama, President Obama, and was taken on by Biden. All the impeachments, all what President Trump went in was under the Democratic leadership, and that's where it started. And what he's trying to do is find a way, which the mandate was again given by the American people, on finding solution to the problems. We have to get the bad actors, or bad elements, or the illegal criminal element who are in our nation. We've got to send them out. Somebody has got to do it. It's a dirty job. And mind you one thing, my kids are Americans, and all American kids should have the first right on the jobs, not the H-1Bs. Our kids we should bring manufacturing away, the supply chains in the United States, or I would say South or Central American nations, because they are right in our backyard. We got to start looking at our nation first. And that's what President Trump is doing.
Well, it looks like what he's doing to the average Virginian is sending
we heard what the Virginians.
Sending masked ICE agents to go patrol streets and take over and occupy American cities.
Sir, the gangs, the fentanyl crisis.
And Jason Miyares was going to help him with that.
And why not? You see, we have a serious fentanyl crisis. We have a serious drug issue. What about our future of our nation? Marijuana is free.
The only thing on the drug front
and on the criminal side of it, if you don't prosecute the bad actors, and that's the reason why the criminals are running free. Look what happened in Washington a few weeks ago, a few days ago.
Let me at least jump in when we talk about this criminal aspect, because even the Department of Homeland Security says that the majority of those that are being arrested on the immigration front are those that have not committed crimes in the past. That these are many of which we have seen, and we reported on here at WC9, law-abiding citizens, families that have gotten arrested, have gotten caught up in these sort of ICE raids. What do you say to that? I mean, the administration has said one thing. What we're seeing is something else.
We need an immigration system that works for the immigrants who are here in this nation, who are hardworking Americans, or they're working here. But at the same time, if you really want to come into this country, come in legally. Where is the rule of law? That's what differentiates the United States with the rest of the world. we got to follow the rule of the law, and that's what it is. It's important.
I'm coming up on the last 60 seconds, and I want to give you two an opportunity to close this out as we get ready to say goodnight here. Your final thoughts about the evening and the future.
Yeah, I think that the evening, went heavily towards Democrats. I think it's a reaction to the Trump administration, as we just discussed. And, I think that the focus going forward, for the party is going to be, do you go with the Mamdani, what you saw with Mamdani in New York? Or are you going to focus on people like Abigail Spanberger, who are more, towards the center?
Two different Democrats there.
Very different Democrats who just won in our nation. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the party navigates that going into 2026. But these results tonight, they show you that, 2026 is within reach for Democrats to win back the House.
Last 20 seconds.
I think we got to work harder as Republicans. We have to have the right messaging. Hopefully the economy starts to improve, which will build the confidence in the American public. And at the same time, we also, as Republicans from Virginia, have to come into Northern Virginia and start to engage with the voters there, because we just can't forgive and forget Northern Virginia, because guess what? Don't just come there for money, raising funds. Come there, engage with people, and let's start winning in Northern Virginia. I think that's a recipe. We just can't let the Democrats have a free hand in Northern Virginia.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you both. Thank you so much for watching. Our election coverage continues on WSA 9 News at 11. Stay right here. We'll be right back.